Hello my dears, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do our first book haul on this channel and I'm very excited. So recently I have been in the book buying mood because of moving to our new apartment and finishing grad school, and also there is a new bookstore that is like a 15-minute walk from us in the area of LA that we live, and it is adorable. I love it so much. They have a little cafe inside, and so we went the other day and we went again today because it's just so cute. And so I wanted to share some of the books that I've gotten over the past like 2 weeks or so. To start with, this is going to be basically nice and casual. I don't know everything about all of these books, but most of these books are purchases that I've been eyeing for a long time and just hadn't pulled the trigger on, and I just finally did. So to start out with one that I was surprised by but definitely caught my eye, it is called Women Don't Owe You Pretty by Florence Given. And basically this is a feminist book about how women are expected to be pretty and cute and kind and all of those sorts of things, and how they basically don't owe that to anybody. They can be who they need to be. Florence Given is a UK artist and writer, and so inside the book there is like a bunch of, I don't know if I can show it to you super well, there's a bunch of like cool images and little prompts. It's just like a very fun format inside. Plus the cover is like super buttery. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but I love it when books have that sort of like buttery texture to them. But anyway, yeah, so that's the first one. Second one that we picked up today is The Space Between Worlds by, is that Micah Johnson? Micaiah Johnson? Probably I'm pronouncing that wrong. But anyway, Space Between Worlds is a sci-fi fantasy sort of story about multiple dimensions and sort of alternate realities. And so there are ways that people can travel from one reality to another as long as the version of themselves in that reality has died. Basically, they can't cross paths with versions of themselves. And so we follow this girl who can travel to all these different places, and for some reason her versions of herself keep dying in all of these different realities, and we have to figure out why. So very excited about this. It is kind of like a quick read. It looks like it's only about 300 pages, so perfect, easy, summer, sci-fi, intriguing read. The next book is one that has been very popular floating around the internet and the interwebs recently, and is one that I have been thinking about for a long time, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And this story is basically a fantasy story about what it would be like if you died, and when you die you are given an opportunity to look at all of the possibilities of your life. So every time you make a major decision, your life branches off and you have one possibility or another possibility. And so when you die, you go to this midnight library and get to see all of the options and possibilities that would have been your life. I believe that is basically the idea of the Midnight Library. And this book also pretty short. It doesn't look it because it's kind of bulky, but it's only about like 250 pages, I think. So another easy, quick read that I have been looking forward to for quite some time. Okay, the next book that I purchased is one that I have been, again, eyeing for quite some time, like years, and that is Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is a great fantasy story that has been recommended to me many times, and I have, as I mentioned, been looking for it for quite some time, and I just hadn't pulled the trigger, but here we go. This is gonna be it. Basically, this is a fantasy story about this girl who is a thief, and she lives in this world where the magic system is really interesting, and it's almost like code. So if you understand the code language of certain objects, you can program those objects to do what you want. And I believe this girl learns the language of many objects, and so she gets really good at being able to manipulate all different sorts of materials and objects and things. and she has been asked to steal this impossible item. So it's very heist based, and things continue from there. So very excited about this one. Anything heist based with a great thought through magic system is right up my alley. All right, the next two books that I purchased are books 1 and 2 in a series, and I rarely purchase sequels in a series if I haven't already read the first book. But that said, this series has had so much hype, and it's just been recommended so many times, and so I just decided to go for it because I think I'm going to love it, and that is The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic. I don't have the third book yet because I wanted to like make super sure that I like it, but yes, so I officially got The Poppy War and its sequel, The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, and this stories is a grimdark fantasy story inspired by the Opium Wars. It follows this girl who has to take this test to get into this academy where it's like a military academy, and I guess the first book is sort of split into her training and then putting that into practice in this war, and it's apparently just a wonderful story, very deep, very dark. There's supposedly lots of trigger warnings and things like that, so I would 100%, if you're looking into it, recommend looking those up before you go into it. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. Once I'm in the mood again for kind of like something a little bit darker, I've been in the mood for things that are very light recently. Once I'm in the mood again for something like this, maybe when the weather changes after summertime, I just know that I'm gonna love these. The next book that I want to chat about is a little bit off the beaten path, well, a little bit out of the ordinary for me because, as you know, I am a big fan of fantasy and sci-fi and all things that sort of fiction, less so the contemporary fiction side of things, but I got Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I'm really excited about it. I've been on a little bit of a romance kick recently, and so I thought that the premise of this book was really cute. Basically, there are these two writers and they go on like a writing retreat holiday sort of a thing, and they run into each other on the beach, and both of them are going through writer's block and they just can't figure out how to get themselves to write what they want, and each of them writes very different genres. And so what do? They challenge each other to write a book in each other's genre, and it's a romance and things continue from there, and yeah, I just think it's a really cute premise and it's unique. I personally find that romances can be a little bit like copy paste when it comes to tropes and styles and structure and things like that, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll bring something new to the table for me. Alrighty, so the next book that I want to talk about is actually a trilogy. It is a trilogy that I've been looking at for a long time, ever since I read the Broken Earth trilogy over there, and that is the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I went ahead and got a copy of all 3 books bound up together because it was on super duper sale, and I love everything about N.K. Jemisin. I'm obsessed with the Broken Earth trilogy, and so I think it's about time for me to read more of her writing. So basically, I believe that the idea of this is that there are gods and mortals, and there's a massive sort of difference between the two, and we have to follow along with this great epic fantasy trilogy. I don't really know too much about it, but all I know is that if N.K. Jemisin wrote it, I'll probably love it. So when I'm ready to delve back in to something by her, I'm like getting super hyped about it. It's gonna be this. All right. And the last book I want to talk about is actually a nonfiction book that we decided to get this morning. My boyfriend and I both decided that it was a really cool idea for something like a coffee table book, and that is Celestial Geometry by Ken Taylor. And basically, this book follows all of these major world structures like Stonehenge and things like that, and matches them up with the star charts and things like that would have been at the time, and talks through the reasoning of why ancient cultures and things and civilizations would have set up their structures the way they did and how that matches with astronomy. So there is like all sorts of really cool images and information, and it just goes all across the world, all of these different areas. And yeah, it's gonna be really, really cool to look at. My boyfriend will probably read it like all the way through because he really likes to do that with nonfiction things. Me, on the other hand, I'll probably pick it up every once in a while if I want to read a little section of it. But yeah, it's a really nice book that we'll be able to have on our coffee table. And it's also really interesting. So yeah. Alrighty friends, that is the end of this book haul. I have been just super excited, super interested in so many different things recently. I'm just really pumped to be back in the reading mood. The end of my quarter was just such a wild ride with moving and traveling and all that stuff, and we're gonna be traveling again next week. So I'm just getting in as much reading content as I possibly can right now. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me with this book haul. If you like any of these books or have any recommendations of one over the other, please let me know in the comments. Spoiler free, my friends. And if you liked it, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe down below. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!